Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 4 based on novel. So let's start. The large parched blade suddenly hacked downwards. At that moment, the air around Tong Chuan disappeared at a shocking rate. A barren-like ripple scattered around the place. Tong Cheng's blade appeared to be ordinary, but the frightening strength contained within was something that only Lin Dong, who had been targeted by the blade glow, could sense. He is indeed worthy of being a direct disciple of the Desolate Hall. Lin Dong looked at the barren space around Tong Cheng. His eyes were quite solemn. However, he had no intention of withdrawing. A thought passed through his mind, and the black dragon spirit that was whizzing down grew increasingly powerful. As it bared its fangs and waved its claws, a frightening energy shockwave caused the cracked lines on the platform to become increasingly dense. Hiss! Tong Chuan's eyes were icy cold as he looked at the black dragon that was being rapidly growing in his eyes. A low cry was suddenly emitted. Immediately, a blade glow that was filled with a barren aura suddenly shot out from his parched large blade. The blade glow was extremely mighty. It was a couple of dozen feet large as it swiftly flashed through the air in a lightning-like manner, just like a meteorite. After which, it heavily slammed onto the black dragon spirit with a shocking momentum. Clang! A clear, sharp, loud sound suddenly sounded out in the sky. Soon after, an extremely wild and violent energy attack suddenly erupted from the sky. The energy attack spread apart. Those people nearby hurriedly pulled back. Numerous golden light flickered on the flat platform in order to protect themselves from the eroding energy wind. While they resisted, the crowd's attention remained focused on mid-air. The Desolate Blade was a fairly powerful martial arts from the Desolate Hall. Since it was currently used by Tong Chuan's 6 Yuan Nirvana stage strength, its might became even stronger. Although Lin Dong was able to summon a dragon spirit, he might not be able to block such a sharp blade. Sizzle sizzle. The blade glow heavily hacked onto the head of the dragon spirit in front of everyone's eyes. That unique barren aura was actually wildly eroding the body of the dragon spirit. That originally somewhat icy cool black dragon scale also swiftly shriveled under the erosion from the desolate aura. Tong Chuan also sensed the increasingly weak dragon spirit due to the erosion of the barren aura. The corner of his mouth was immediately lifted into a cold smile. The desolate blade in his hand once again hacked furiously downwards. Desolate blade slaying dragon spirit. Crack, crack, crack. Another incomparably wild blade glow attack appeared. This time around, the black dragon spirit immediately cracked, forming numerous cracked lines in the process. That dragon spirit is unable to endure any longer. Everyone quietly shook their heads when they saw this scene. It seemed that the dragon spirit that Lin Dong had summoned was unable to endure the might of the Desolate Blade. The Desolate Hall's martial art is quite unique. That barren aura that they had obtained from training is quite strong. Little Martin looked at this scene in the sky and nodded. Is Lin Dong able to endure it? Liu Bai's and Mo Ling's group involuntarily asked. Lin Dong was basically representing all of the newly joined disciples. If he was to be defeated today, it was likely that none of them would have a good time in the future. Relax, it is not so easy to deal with Lin Dong. Little Martin spoke with a faint smile. Mo Ling and the rest quietly sighed in relief after hearing Little Martin spoke in this manner. At this moment, they could tell that Little Martin seemed to be the most unfathomable person in the group. Hence, since he had spoken in this manner, it seems like Lin Dong would not be in deep trouble. While they were conversing, that enormous dragon spirit in the sky also began to crack apart inch by inch. Clearly, it had already reached its limit. Is it over? Quite a number of people contemplated this thought in their hearts when they saw this scene. However, they did not have any intention of mocking the other member. It was already quite an accomplishment for Lin Dong, who was merely a newcomer, to force Tong Chuan to use the Desolate Blade. Tong Chuan also raised his head and looked at the collapsing dragon spirit. His face revealed a smile. However, his eyes suddenly shrunk before his smile could widen. Bang! The cracking dragon spirit suddenly exploded at this moment. Soon after, a green light directly rushed out from within, after which, it flashed downwards at a shocking speed and appeared in front of Tong Chuan. With the help of the light reflection, everyone could clearly see that Lin Dong was within the green light. At this moment, Lin Dong's body was covered with green dragon scales that appeared like a layer of scale armor. Green dragon arms. Lin Dong's eyes were icy cold within the green light. A low roar sounded within his heart. Immediately, his right hand instantly wiggled and swelled. Within a short instant, it had transformed into an enormous dragon arms. A terrifying strength erupted and shook the space until it became a little distorted. Bang! Lin Dong did not hesitate after the green dragon arms took shape. His fists blew apart the air immediately before he rushed towards Tong Chuan in an incomparably fearsome manner. A terrifying energy pounced over in a substance-like manner. Immediately, even Tong Chuan's 6-yuan nirvana stage golden body felt a kind of piercing pain. His eyes quickly turned exceptionally solemn. That was because Lin Dong's punch posed a serious threat to him. Hack! The parched large blade within Tong Cheng's hand was lifted high up. After which, it once again hacked downwards with great force. That strange force was pushed to its limits at this moment. Clang! The dragon arms and desolate blade directly collided together at this moment. Immediately, an indescribable wild and violent strength swept apart. Cracked lines also spread in a lightning-like manner on the ground. Kai Kai! Traces of dark grey force rapidly flowed out from the desolate blade wherever the fist made contact with it. It swiftly flowed out from the desolate blade. After which, they eroded Lin Dong's dragon arms from continuously. Under the erosion from that force, Lin Dong's dragon arms actually showed signs of shriveling. You have just joined the desolate hall. Allow this senior to teach you just how frightening the desolate force of the desolate hall is. Tong Chuan looked at this scene, laughed coldly and said, Desolate force, huh? Lin Dong focused his eyes slightly. That strange energy seemed able to turn everything into a barren state, and its eroding force was extremely strong. The dragon spirit from earlier had ended up losing much of its defenses because of the eroding force, which resulted in it being destroyed with just a blade strike. Other people might feel troublesome to deal with this kind of force, but unfortunately, Lin Dong was not one of them. Devour! A thought passed through Lin Dong's mind before a powerful devouring force erupted from his devouring ancestral symbol. Traces of black lines quietly spread over Lin Dong's dragon hands and swallowed all of the desolate force that invaded Lin Dong's body. Tong Chuan's expression drastically changed the moment he realized that his desolate force was being swallowed. Clearly, he had also sensed something. Your force is useless against me. Lin Dong raised his head slightly and smiled towards Tong Chuan, whose face had changed drastically. His dragon hands were immediately tightly clenched. Surging force spluttered out like tide water from an extreme distance. Bang! The dragon fist violently collided onto the desolate blade. A wild and violent strength poured out in an extremely peremptory manner, ignoring that mysterious desolate force. Crack! When this wild and violent strength seeped out, numerous cracked lines immediately appeared on the desolate blade. After which, the cracked lines widened and directly burst apart under the stunned gazes of Tong Chuan and many other Desolate Hall's disciples. Boom! After the desolate blade was shattered, the remaining shock wind swept towards Tong Chuan in a storm-like manner. Immediately, it sent the latter flying, and he was only able to regain his footing after he haphazardly retreated for a dozen over steps. The platform became much quieter after Tong Chuan's body stabilized in a miserable manner. The many disciples of the desolate hall faced each other before quietly inhaling a breath of cold air. Lin Dong had actually shattered the desolate blade? Being disciples of the desolate hall, they were clearly aware of just how powerful the desolate blade was. This was a martial art that the disciples of the desolate hall must learn, and it was their preferred offensive strike. However, it was now shattered by just a single punch from Lin Dong. When everyone watched Lin Dong, who had halted his attack in midair, they were aware that the victor of this spar was already decided. Lin Dong's swelled dragon's arm wiggled rapidly. After which, they transformed into ordinary hands. He did not went overboard and chase after his opponent. This was the Dao sect, not the ancient battlefield. The person in front of him was also his senior and not a life or death enemy. Therefore, the rule in the ancient battlefield, where one must kill or completely cripple the other party, was not applicable here. Lin Dong raised his head after his hands returned to normal. He cupped his hands towards Tong Chuan in the distance and softly said, "Senior Tong Chuan, thanks for letting me win." The atmosphere on the platform above the Pill River quieted down. There was some dense shock that still remained in the eyes of quite a number of people. Clearly, the end results had exceeded their expectations. Tong Chuan might not be considered to the elite amongst the Desolate Hall disciples, but he was fairly famous amongst the direct disciples. Hence, these Desolate Hall's disciples were filled with shock when they saw this result. TCH, this 100 Empire War Champion name really contains some real substance to it. That's right, Lin Dong has just joined the Desolate Hall. If he is allowed to train here for some time, it is not impossible for him to even catch up with Senior Pang Tong and the others. Looks like our Desolate Hall is going to produce another outstanding person. Ha, it's just as well. In this way, it will boost the reputation of our Desolate Hall. Otherwise, we might end up being firmly suppressed by the other 3 halls during the annual hall competition. Based on what I know, there are people amongst the top disciples of the other 3 halls who have already begun to study the 3 great mysterious scriptures. On the other hand, our Desolate Hall. There's no choice. What can we do since our Great Desolation scripture is so damn abnormally difficult? Just endure it. As long as someone successfully understands the Great Desolation scripture, our Desolate Hall will definitely obtain the #1 spot. Difficult. Private conversations spread from the flat platform. The eyes, which those disciples from the Desolate Hall looked at Lin Dong with, no longer had a playful tinge. Instead, a seriousness replaced it. Although Lin Dong was a new disciple, his strength was sufficient for them to take him seriously. At this moment, Tong Chuan's expression changed in a volatile fashion for a moment before he sighed helplessly. Although Lin Dong's Yuan power mastery had only reached the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage, he was able to match up to a 6 Yuan Nirvana stage expert when his strength was combined with his equally powerful mental energy. Moreover, Lin Dong's powerful physical body caused Tong Chuan to feel an even greater fear in his body. The punch from earlier allowed him to understand that if Lin Dong truly intended to kill him, he would definitely not only appear this miserable on the surface, even though he had the protection of the Nirvana golden body. Junior Lin Dong, I admire you. With this strength of yours, I have nothing to say if it is your turn for the Pill River head immersion. Tong Chuan cupped his hands towards Lin Dong and said. Lin Dong hurriedly cupped his hands together. Tong Chuan was quite a good loser. He did not end up becoming angry from embarrassment just because he lost. This caused Lin Dong to form a good impression of the former. Often, the enemies that Lin Dong met within the ancient battlefield continued to plot against each other and would use any means to achieve their objectives. It could be said to be quite a scheming place. Compared to that place, Desolate Hall was undoubtedly much more peaceful and quieter. Although there was competition, its intensity was much more subdued compared to the ancient battlefield. Liu Bai's group quietly sighed in relief within their hearts after seeing Tong Chuan adopt a softer stance. It seemed like Lin Dong's actions had successfully established a deterrent effect. Ha, this place is quite lively. A laughter was transmitted from the sky just when Liu Bai and the rest were signing in relief. After which, 2 figures appeared on the platform and smiling looked at everyone. These disciples greet the 2 hall chiefs. All the disciples from the Desolate Hall immediately revealed a respectful expression and spoke in unison when these 2 figures appeared. Wu Dao smilingly waved his hand. He glanced at Lin Dong and teasingly said, "Since it is your turn, you should begin the Pill River head immersion. Also, this is the Hall Chief of the Desolate Hall, Chen Zhen." Lin Dong involuntarily curled his mouth when seeing that smiling face of Wu Dao. This old fellow had clearly arrived a long while ago. However, he did not show himself. His intention was to wait for Lin Dong to personally act and resolve this issue. This disciple Lin Dong greets Hall Chief. Lin Dong ignored Wu Dao and turned his eyes towards the white-haired old man beside the latter. The latter also had a face full of smiles and he appeared quite friendly. However, with the help of his mental energy, Lin Dong was able to sense a vast and mighty yuan power ripple that was even more majestic than Wu Dao's. This ripple was just like the ocean. It was deep and unfathomable. This is Hall Chief Chen Zhen and he has likely reached the advanced mysterious life stage level. Lin Dong was speechless as he quietly noted to himself. After the nirvana stage was the mysterious life and death stage. This stage is divided into the mysterious life stage and the mysterious death stage. Each stage is further divided into 3 levels. Initial, advanced, perfect. Chen Zhen should be at the level of the advanced mysterious life stage. If he takes one more step, he would be able to reach the perfect mysterious life stage and form an undying body. The life stage of the mysterious life and death stage. For the life stage, it will give rise to the life chi. After it fuses with the yuan power, it will cause the yuan power within one's body to grow and become boundless like the oceans. Usually, as long as one steps into the mysterious life and death stage, one would be able to heal oneself regardless of what terrible physical injuries one suffered, unless one's yuan spirit was badly damaged. As the life chi within one's physical body becomes increasingly majestic, it could even raise a skeleton of the dead. Once one's strength reached the perfect mysterious life stage, one would be able to regenerate one's limbs. From a certain point of view, it could be considered as an undead body. One's physical body at that time would truly be terrifying. If the life chi of the mysterious life stage can allow one to possess an extremely powerful physical body, the death chi of the mysterious death stage would enable those who possess it to have an extremely terrifying destructive strength with just the raise of his hand. Everything ceased to exist under the death chi. Of course, this level was really a little too distant to the current Lin Dong. Even in this eastern Xian region, one would be considered as the elite as long as one could step into the mysterious life stage. As for the mysterious death stage, someone at this level would be an elder rank big shot even within the Dao sect and the other super sects. Chen Zhen glanced at the young man in front, who had a respectful expression. His sharp eyes enabled him to sense the ferocity that was hidden under his friendly eyes. This hidden ferocity enabled him to understand that the young man in front of him definitely hid a wolf in his bones. This wolf was usually hidden. However, if someone truly touched it, those ferocious teeth would definitely be bared. No wonder he is able to rely on his low-rank empire origin to come out on top within the ancient battlefield. Chen Zhen sighed softly in his heart. He had a clear understanding of the situation in the ancient battlefield. At the same time, he also clearly understood just how much effort someone from a low-rank empire had to put in order to become the champion of the 100 Empire War. This young person in front of him had definitely experienced many things. A trace of unknown emotion involuntarily rose within Chen Zhen's heart when he thought of this point. He had also experienced the ancient battlefield a very long time ago and he merely came from a middle-rank empire. This young person in front of him was no different from him back then. It was just that this person was even more persistent than him. You will be the direct disciple of the Desolate Hall in the future. Just treat this as your home. Chen Zhen's old and wrinkled face had a faint but genuine smile on it. He gently extended his shriveled hand and rubbed Lin Dong's head. Lin Dong was stunned for a moment because of Chen Zhen's action. He looked at the elderly face behind him before moving his lips a little. However, he did not say anything. All he did was slowly lower his head. Deep within his heart, he began to feel a rare emotion towards this place that he had just joined. This emotion would usually only appear within that little Lin family in Qingyang town in the past. Although this emotion was extremely slight, only those who knew Lin Dong well would be able to know that it was not an easy matter to get his usual cautious self to reveal such an emotion. This old fellow, little Martin, raised his eyebrows slightly. However, there was a gentle arc on his handsome face. Lin Dong was not someone who was easily moved by a sentence or anyone's actions. As such, this current scene was clearly not a bad start. Before one is integrated into a sect, one must at least approve of it. Begin the Pill River head immersion. Little fellow, normally speaking, one would obtain more benefits the longer one endures. What level you can reach will be entirely dependent on your ability. Chen Zhen smiled slightly. He withdrew his rough hand before looking towards Wu Dao. The two of them moved and they rushed from the flat platform and charged into that majestic Pill River. Lin Dong, enter the Pill River. Lin Dong withdrew his emotion after hearing Wu Dao's low cry. He nodded slightly. After which, his toes pressed on the platform and his body rushed out. Finally, he charged into the Pill River with a surging Nirvana chi in front of the many envious eyes. The Pill River began to surge. Vigorous Nirvana chi materialized into tidal waves that rolled endlessly. The display of might from the Pill River was much more fearsome than any normal river. Chen Zhen and Wu Dao hovered above the Pill River. Even as dense Nirvana chi was pounding against their bodies, their clothes did not waver at all. They appeared to be using their Yuan power to defend themselves against the collision from the Nirvana chi. Lin Dong was secretly envious at this sight. This is the disparity of strength between him and them. They were not on the same level. Meanwhile, the desolate hall disciples were rushing onto the side of the Pill River platform with their eyes focused on the Pill River. Their gazes were filled with envy. Pill River head immersion was an extremely rare event that took place only once every year. Nirvana Golden Chi, which was produced in the depths of the Pill River, had an extremely powerful nourishing effect on Nirvana stage practitioners. However, very little Nirvana Golden Chi was produced each year. Otherwise, it would be of great help to the Desolate Hall's disciples. I wonder how many days can Lin Dong endure this time around? Yeah. Nirvana Golden Chi is extremely violent. The moment it enters your body, it will break into your nervous system and blood vessels. It might even be life-threatening for those unlucky ones. The guy who obtained the privilege of the Pill River head immersion last year is Senior Fang Yun, right? He managed to stay in the Pill River for 4 days. Given Lin Dong's current strength, I guess he should be able to stay in the river for 4 days. Who knows? On the platform, everyone was looking at the youthful figure that was above the Pill River. At the same time, whisperings and murmurings broke out from the onlookers. Is the Pill River head immersion dangerous? After hearing those murmurs, Mo Ling and his counterpart looked frantically at little Martin and asked. Originally, the Pill River is created from the purest Nirvana Chi. In the depths of the Pill River, a multitudinous amount of Nirvana Chi fused together under the ambient pressure. As time passes, the fusion creates an extremely pure energy, which is known as the Nirvana Golden Chi, little Martin explained plainly. There's another name for this kind of Nirvana Golden Chi. It's also called the Yuan Spirit Chi. Yuan Spirit Chi. Mo Ling and the rest were startled. When a Nirvana stage practitioner is going through the 7th Nirvana tribulation, the Nirvana Chi in his or her body will automatically transform into that Yuan Chi. From a different perspective, the same situation is what's happening with the Nirvana Golden Chi in the Pill River. The Nirvana Golden Chi will be formed after going through numerous rounds of fusion and refinement. It's just that the Nirvana Golden Chi here has no consciousness of its own. If one can successfully absorb the Nirvana Golden Chi here, not only will it be greatly beneficial for the growth of his strength, it will make the process of his Yuan Dan evolving into a Yuan spirit much more smoother as well. There are such benefits. Upon hearing these, Mo Ling and the rest were shocked. Forming the Yuan spirit is an important step in the Nirvana stage. When a Yuan spirit was created, even if one's physical body was destroyed, one would not die instantly. However, even though Yuan spirit was rather useful, it was not easy to create one. The risk of creating a Yuan spirit was much more higher than passing through a Nirvana tribulation. Therefore, when they heard that Nirvana Golden Chi could make the process of creating a Yuan spirit smoother, they were extremely shocked. There are indeed a lot of benefits. However, Nirvana Golden Chi can be rather uncontrollable for practitioners at your level. The moment you lose control of it, your internal body will be in a state of chaos. In the end, not only do you not manage to reap any benefits, but you will end up with a bunch of internal injuries. Furthermore, the Nirvana Golden Chi is hidden in the depths of the Pill River. If one wants to obtain the Nirvana Chi, one will have to enter the depths of the Pill River. The ambient pressure there is enough to crush a full Yuan Nirvana stage practitioner. It's not an easy task to withstand the pressure while absorbing the Nirvana golden chi at the same time, little Martin explained. Oh, I see. Everyone finally understood what was going on. Upon seeing everyone's facial expressions, little Martin merely smiled and shifted his gaze towards the young figure above the Pill River. Indeed, the Nirvana Golden was extremely violent. However, it would not pose any death-dealing threats to Lin Dong, who had been practicing the Green Heaven materialized dragon skill. Let's do it. Above the Pill River, Chen Zhen looked at Wu Dao and chuckled. Okay. Wu Dao nodded his head slightly. Soon after, his facial expression became somber gradually. With a wave of his sleeves, boundless and vigorous Yuan power swept out of his body like a tidal wave and materialized into an enormous Yuan power-made bolt that directly plunged into the Pill River. Then, it started stirring ferociously like a gigantic rod. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As that enormous Yuan power-made bolt started to stir, the Pill River boiled instantly. Waves and currents were surging violent. Following which, a black-colored whirlpool formed rapidly on the surface of the Pill River. The whirlpool extended quickly into the bottom of the Pill River. The jet-black whirlpool was like the mouth of the devil, making one's hair stand. Buzz buzz. Clearly, the whirlpool was expanding rapidly. As the width of the whirlpool's mouth reached approximately 100 feet, a golden radiance appeared in the bottomless darkness. Swish! The golden radiance shot out from the whirlpool like a shooting star that streaked across the dark sky. Finally, when it reached the top of the sky, an abnormal violent energy wave erupted. Nirvana Golden Chi. When everyone on the platform saw the golden radiance shooting out of the whirlpool, cries of surprise broke out and their eyes were filled with fervent. Lin Dong, enter the depths of the Pill River and absorb the Nirvana Golden Chi. If you can't take it anymore, crush this piece of jade and I will bring you back. Chen Zhen roared as the golden radiance appeared. With a wave of his sleeves, a gold-colored jade flew towards Lin Dong. Yes. Without any hesitation, after Lin Dong caught the gold-colored jade in his hand, his body trembled and vigorous Yuan power engulfed his body. Following which, he materialized into a streak of light and surged into the swirling whirlpool without the slightest bit of uncertainty. As Lin Dong entered the whirlpool, Chen Zhen took action as well. Boundless Yuan power gushed out from his body and enveloped the entire whirlpool. Soon after, the whirlpool began to spin slower. Eventually, the whirlpool was forcefully froze. Phew! Upon seeing the whirlpool froze, Wu Dao let out a sigh of relief. With a wave of his hand, he withdrew the gigantic Yuan power-made bolt into his body. Then, he shifted his gaze towards the whirlpool that was emitting golden radiance and pursed his lips involuntarily. What happens next will have to depend on his capabilities. The longer he endures down there, the more beneficial it will be for him, Chen Zhen as he dusted his hands. How many days do you think this lad can hold out? Chen Zhen suddenly asked smilingly. Should be around 5 days, Wu Dao muttered as he gave a conservative estimate. 5 days is a rather good result. However, I guess this estimate is far from what you expect deep in your heart. Don't you always hold him in high regard? Chen Zhen laughed. All right, my estimate is 8 days, Wu Dao stroked his beard and replied. Chen Zhen was slightly startled. Then, he maintained his composure and continued, you're rather blunt. From what I know, among the younger generation who has undertaken the Pill River head immersion, only Ying Xiaoxiao managed to hold out for 8 days in the river. I have never once believed that Lin Dong is weaker than that girl, Wu Dao smiled insipidly. Then, why don't you think about what happened further back in the past? That year, Senior Ju Tong lay on the bed of the Pill River and absorbed all the Nirvana Golden Chi before swaggering out of the river, Chen Zhen chuckled. Ha ha, Senior Ju Tong is an exceptional talent who mastered the great desolate scripture. I don't have such expectation for Lin Dong, Wu Dao chortled. You. Chen Zhen broke out into laughter and shook his head. Then, he shifted his gaze towards the whirlpool that was emitting golden radiance and said softly, since you have such high expectations of him, we shall see how many days this lad can hold out. As Chen Zhen finished his sentence, he stopped talking for a while. Then, he muttered to himself, if a miracle occurs, that will be the best scenario. The desolate hall has been too quiet these past years. It's time for some excitement. This video will end here.